Remember the important information here. Might want to pause and give it a read.
Yo! Hey everybody! It's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001! Because between you and me, they're way past cool!
Hello friends, this is Wake Angel 2001, and if any of you were thinking that I wasn't making custom toys because of my Constructs retrospective, you were wrong, because I was still working on them. So, let's get back into the custom toy content with the first part of a commission for Lawrence, E123 Omega, everybody's favorite rogue super badnik. Okay, so the base toy is, of course, this perfectly innocuous little toy truck, which is actually the Thrilling 30 Optimus Prime Legends class figure. This is also available as Pipes, Huffer, and Nemesis Prime, so hopefully there are lots of this mold out here. Optimus Prime has a conveniently dismantleable body since most of his limbs are held together with ball joints, and he has some pretty decent size and proportions to be an Omega. Although if anybody knows of any simpler little toys that have these basic proportions that I could use to make Omega in the future, feel free to let me know. I'd always like to refine my recipes and find easier to work with figures if possible. As for the customizing itself, let's start from the ground up with Omega's feet. These are, of course, 3D printed. You can probably tell by the texture of the plastic. And I got them from Tinkercad. Basically, I went onto Tinkercad's website and did a search for people who had made models of Omega. I found a couple, and one of them had a pretty good pair of feet that I could separate and use for my own devices. I did slightly alter them. I added those little blocky things to the top so that I would be able to insert these ball joints from that Mega Constructs Ekans figure. Very convenient source of ball joints that Ekans figure is. Which would allow Omega to have ball-jointed ankles and therefore be easier to stand. Of course, these are the only 3D models that I actually took from somewhere else, as I'm really proud of myself on this one. I actually made my own 3D models to print out for this figure, starting here with this shin. I know it just kind of looks like some kind of avant-garde vase, but once I separated the knee joints from Optimus Prime's lower legs and drilled a hole in the bottom so that I could stick the other half of the ball joint in, you can actually see how it has that tapered look that Omega's legs have. Reattached to the legs with a little bit of sculpting to cover up all the ugly parts of the connection, you can see where the context comes from. Context provides the look. Unfortunately, once I fully assembled the legs, I realized that I kind of made a goof. I had forgotten to compensate for the extra length that the ball-jointed ankles would add, so the legs were a bit too long. There wasn't really an overly elegant solution to this. I had to cut the legs apart, sand away a whole bunch of material from the middle, and then reattach them, sculpting over, like I said, the seams once again, and resulting in much more proportionately sound legs for an Omega figure. I have corrected the 3D models, so when I make Omegas in the future, the legs will be the proper length from the get-go. And here is another part that I 3D printed, Omega's forearms. I am really happy with how they came out. I was afraid that all those little pyramid-shaped studs wouldn't come out, and aligning them in an octagon pattern around the ring was actually kind of hard to do because I had to make sure everything was rotated and lined up just right. But Providence prevailed and everything worked out perfectly. I think the system was rewarding me for going through all the effort to make it myself instead of using models ripped from games or given to me by Corey. I mean, Corey, bro, I love your work. You do great things for me. Thank you so much. But there's just a certain satisfaction to knowing that I can do it on my own, you know? Now, as for the arms, just like with the legs, you have to take away all the extra material except for the joint itself. So on the left, that's what's left of the joint. On the right is that's what the arm looked like before I touch it. So yeah, I take out a whole bunch of material. And if you looked in the 3D model a few seconds ago, you probably saw like there was a square hole in the top. That was so that I would be able to stick the joint inside of it. And like make the parts mate together like they fit. And with a proper repaint job, you have something that looks a lot more like Omega's arms. No 3D printing necessary for the shoulders. Optimus's shoulders are already pretty decent shape. I just had to extend them with a little bit of epoxy. And now, here's one of my proudest 3D models, Omega's hand. Yes, I was able to make Omega's hand from scratch in Tinkercad. Fortunately, Omega only has 3 fingers because I don't think I would have been able to print a 5-fingered hand and have it fit. Because, given the proportions of the hand, like if I made the fingers any smaller, they wouldn't have printed. And if I printed them at this size and there were 4 fingers, then it would have been too big to go into those forearm pieces. So fortunately everything worked out. I did a little bit of a partial painting here so you could see how the fingers look once I cleaned all the flash off, and then I painted them silver and stuck them into the forearms. Unfortunately, because of how they're built now, they're not made using Lego joints anymore, so there is no wrist swivel or swapping weaponry gimmick. For that I am sorry, but hey, they're 3D printed Omega hands that I made all myself. They look way better than anything I sculpted before. Much sharper and more, mechanical looking. Like, they have a certain manufactured quality to them that works a lot better for a robot. The roundness of Omega's torso is always a challenge, so I made these things in my 3D printer. It started out as a circular piece, and I cut material out of the middle of it in the shape of Optimus Prime's torso. So like sticking these things onto the front and back, it creates that round shape, which gave me context for how I could sculpt Omega's body and keep it symmetrically round and everything. I also had to use my Dremel to sand Optimus's head down by half because it's too tall. Omega has a pretty flat head, so I just had to shorten everything. But yeah, this ring thing actually made the rather difficult process of making Omega's torso just that little bit easier. I mean, it would be cool if I could totally 3D print the entirety of Omega's 3D cylindrical torso and just stick it onto this Optimus figure, but that's kind of a really complicated shape to make sure everything aligns right, and like Optimus still has joints inside that need to be able to move around, and everything doesn't go completely circular because like it's bigger in the front than it is in the back, so there's just inherent limitations to this. Now the last part that I 3D printed was Omega's head. Yes, his head. Fortunately, this is not that complicated. It kind of looks like a squashed Darth Vader helmet. It's basically a cone with a dome on top, with the front flattened and a couple of geometric shapes for the eyes and nose thing. And there is a little bit of hand sculpting to blend the shape of that thing that he has going on. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the dome just has like a flat front. It's a thing. There's overhang. It sometimes it's easier just to make something that looks close enough and then fix it up in with some hand sculpting rather than drive yourself nuts trying to figure out how to make those precise shapes in 3D modeling. Okay, so let's do the victory lap. Final pieces that I just sculpted by hand: the rocket nozzles, his hip skirts, which are attached to Lego ball joints, those funny cylinder things that go on his front and back, with a little tiny bit of a 3D printed ring so that I can create the illusion that they're connecting to those Lego pieces that make his sides. And now we are ready to take a look at the completed Omega. And here he is! If you're wondering what the heck was going on with my voice a few seconds ago, I wasn't using any kind of distortion filters. My computer is just lagging on me. I don't know, I think maybe it downloaded some malware, or maybe I had too many tabs open in Firefox and it's using too many system resources saving those, or maybe it's just because Windows Movie Maker is a crappy program that hasn't been updated or fixed by Microsoft for a while. But yeah, like I'm getting a lot of lag when I try to run and record stuff. But you know, like that's all besides the point. Like I said, I'm not a great video maker. I am a toy maker. So my passion is in making the toys, not in making the world's greatest videos. For that I apologize, but as long as I produce a good quality product for you guys, then that's all that's important to me. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope that my new partially 3D printed Omega is something cool and interesting for you all, and that you like this model. Let me know in the comments below. And this is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.